there. Now ideally, before we add our black details, we would let this dry completely, because if we start going over with the black pen while the sky is still wet, then the pen and the water are just going to mix together and it's going to look blurry. But we want a nice clean line for the pen. So I'm going to hold off on going over the mountain lines until the sky is dry. But while we're waiting, we can start going over the lines on the other part. So with the black pen, I'm going to do the horizon line. And then I can do the tree lines that I made, the short ones, kind of the medium-sized ones, and then the bigger ones. And then those lines I did for the land. There we go. All right, now for doing the details for the trees, we want these to look like realistic fir trees. So I've got a handout that kind of walks you through each of these steps that you'll be doing, and it gives you a closer look at what the trees look like. And it's not hard, but you don't want to be sloppy with this. So I'll do one of the big trees first so you can kind of see the detail a little bit better, but I'm going to start right at the top and just kind of do some lines that come in and out. You want it to be skinnier at the top, and gradually we're going to kind of make a triangle shape overall. But I don't want to draw an actual triangle because that does not look realistic. So with my pen, I'm just kind of bringing it in and out. The closer it gets to the bottom of the tree, the wider it's going to get. And you can always go back in and add more branches to make it look a little bit fuller. Now that we're going to do the same thing for those teeny tiny trees, it's just going to be so teeny tiny because we want it to look like it's off in the distance. Yeah, just like that. Teeny tiny. And with these, going to be a little bit bigger. But same thing, in and out, gradually get wider. And keep going through all your trees. See how I'm kind of not doing straight lines back and forth? They're kind of a little wiggly, but not too crazy. And I am going to give you a bit of a heads up. The lunch bell might ring soon, so it might get a little loud in a second, but we're going to keep going. Now if it gets close to that circle line we drew, we don't want to go over the circle line, so just kind of go right next to it to keep it inside that space. Okay, so this one's a little sparse. I might add a few more to make it look fuller.
May I have your attention, please? Sorry for the interruption. We need to let you know that lunch will be held in the classrooms today, and the hot lunch will be served in the hallways. And also, there was no milk delivered, so there will be a shortage of milk, just to let you know. Thank you.
Bummer if you wanted milk, right? Okay, so there we go. All the trees are done, and it looks like the sky is almost all the way dry. So I'm going to go ahead. It's a little bit wet right there, so I'm going to steer clear of that spot. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab a tissue and just hold my tissue right there to soak up that little bit. There we go. Okay, so for doing the mountains, we want to take our pen, trace right back over the top of the mountains that we drew. Just Okay, and then we also want to trace over the shadow lines we made. It's okay if you can still kind of see your pencil lines, because we can go back over pencil lines when we're all done to erase them. All right, so now we need to go back in and fill in those shadowed areas, and all we're going to do are parallel lines inside those spaces that we drew. And you want your lines to be pretty close together. You don't want them to be touching, because then it's going to look like, pardon the bell, then it's going to look like it's excuse me, colored in solid black. We don't want it to be solid black. And here. There we go. Almost done. Nice. Okay, so now we've got shadows. If you want to add a few more details onto your mountain, like maybe I'll extend these lines a little, add just a few lines on the mountains to kind of give them a texture, you can do that. And then the last thing you're going to do, which I'm not going to do right now, but the last thing you're going to do is use your same pen and carefully trace around that circle that we first made. And then if you want to do a second border around it, I like the look of it. You can do a second border around it, kind of gives it a framed look. So do that super carefully, parallel line all the way around, okay? Now since these are super tiny drawings, when you finish one, and if there's any time left, you can, I've got extra watercolor paper, you can make some more mountain landscapes. You could do a square one that just kind of has mountains and trees on the bottom, or if you just want to do like a mountain range, you can. As far as colors for your sky, for your first one, I want you to stick to more cool colors, because cool colors, anytime you're using all cool colors, they mix and blend together really well, so you won't have to worry about colors not looking well when they mix. Or if you want to do something like this, let me know, because I'm going to walk you through. This one has more warm colors into cool colors, and sometimes if you're not careful, if you mix warm and cool colors too close to each other, they make brown, which we probably don't want brown in our sky, okay? So go ahead and get to work. I'm going to let you start with a scrap piece of paper to just kind of practice making these mountain and tree drawings before we actually start on our finished watercolor paper. And then if you'd like to practice doing the wet on wet watercolor technique before you do your final one, you can do that as well. Just let me know and I can give you some scrap paper to play with, okay? So this is what we're going to be doing. Doesn't that look so beautiful? The nice thing is everybody's is going to look very unique, but very beautiful. Everybody's going to be a success.